Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Living in Jacksonville channel. It's Thursday night and it is 8 p.m. and we are here talking all things Jacksonville, not just about real estate, but lifestyle. And tonight we are going to be talking about some really interesting news lately. We are finding out that there's a proposal for a surf park coming to eTown in Jacksonville. I'm going to touch up on that tonight. Kind of a crazy story to me because I was looking up some information before tonight, and there are 19 operational surf parks in the world. Okay, 19. There is a whole plethora of more of them coming into development around the world. And so to think that this technology is only really come around in 2016, we're in 2024. A lot of these surf parks around the world that opened up were not successful initially opening up. So it does raise some concern based on the technology and the idea about it. So we're going to talk about that tonight. Before I get started, though, if anybody's watching tonight, and you have any questions or you want to talk about anything real estate or lifestyle here in Jacksonville, make sure you go ahead and put it in the comments. I will go ahead and respond to those comments. This is an interactive show. Anything goes, and certainly I love to know where you're watching from. If you are watching here tonight, go ahead and add that in the comments. I'd like to know where you're watching. Usually we have people from this channel watching from all over the country, sometimes internationally. So if you're watching, go ahead and put in there, say hello, tell me where you're watching from. And of course, if you have any questions about anything real estate here in the area, absolutely go ahead and throw that in there as well. And I'll be more than glad to address that. This is totally interactive. This is not going to be a long show tonight because I am going to go off on a little bit of a tangent regarding this new development news. Jacksonville is developing massively quickly now. I think it's one of the most underrated places in Florida. And with all the recent hurricane news going on out there, I want to just say that first of all, my heart goes out to everybody that's affected on the Gulf Coast of Florida, and then of course massive condolences and my heart goes out to all the folks that are in Asheville and the Carolina mountains that also were hit by the storm. We, by the grace of God, were spared here in Northeast Florida, and then also our mountain house up in Blue Ridge, Georgia. The storm was actually heading right towards Fannin County, and it veered east to Asheville. And so we missed a bullet there on our mountain home as well. We didn't even lose power up there in the mountains at all. So certainly grateful for that. But again, my heart goes out to all the folks that are still stranded and lost in Asheville right now. And I hope that, if you can reach out to any of the organizations that are helping people out there, this is your opportunity to reach out and help those that are dealing with massive flooding, and some homes are lost completely and the death toll keeps coming up. So I don't want to underplay that. And I also wanted to recognize that as well, because we were spared. But again, in Florida, we are very susceptible to hurricanes. It said this was going to be a very bad hurricane season, and it certainly has been. A lot of storms brewing out there in the Atlantic and the Gulf. So again, we're super fortunate here in Northeast Florida, and the insurance industry, home insurance industry, is getting hammered here in Florida. And so a lot of folks, again, are calling from South Florida, the West Coast, because it's becoming so unaffordable because of the liabilities of the storms, specifically on the south regions of Florida, the southwest region, the Gulf Coast, because they are so susceptible to storms. Even areas that were not hit by the hurricanes, such as in areas off of Tampa, dealt with major storm surges and flooding. What people don't understand is not just the hurricane or the winds of the storms that affect, but the storm surges from the ocean causing massive flooding inland. And so a lot of parts of the west coast of Florida were affected by that. Now, because of that, we've been very fortunate here in Northeast Florida and Jacksonville, knock on wood, that a lot of people are, again, for insurance purposes and liability purposes, are saying, hey, you know what, I don't know if I can take this anymore, because they're getting pretty bad, folks. So, it's one of the big selling points here for this area is that home insurance is still affordable. Although I got a call tonight from a neighbor, and I have Progressive asking, hey, what are people using for home insurance here in St. Johns County, and I'm in Nocatee. And Progressive is now pulling out of Florida. I haven't gotten the letter yet, but we have the full bundle Progressive package where we had car insurance plus home insurance. And I got a call from a neighbor today going, hey, what are you guys using for home insurance now? Because we got the letter from Progressive that they're pulling out of the state of Florida. And I'm telling you right now that these big insurance companies, the smarter ones, the ones you really want to be with, because you feel like you're more secure, they're going to be able to pay out those claims. When they're pulling out, that's pretty bad. So I'm hoping I don't get that letter, because I don't like switching insurance all the time. But lately, for those of you that are shopping insurance in this area, I've been hearing some pretty good rates from State Farm. My in-laws are moving here from Amelia Island. They're moving in from to Nocatee as well, and we've been shopping for them, and Brightway has been really good getting us quotes. But I mean, we're seeing insurance quotes from $1,500 to $2,400 a year with flood in some cases, and that's dirt cheap compared to the rest of Florida. So here we go. Grace F, Long Island, New York. It's Rob using Grace's login. All right, what's up, Rob? Thanks for joining us tonight. Long Island, New York. Good to see you on the show tonight. Thanks for joining us. So yeah, again, people are still migrating the area, but now we're having people moving from other parts of Florida moving here as well, because of insurance and the cost of living in various parts of other parts of Florida is just becoming really unaffordable. And then, as I was talking about, tonight's show is about this recent news that I was wanted to talk about by the PARC Group, which is the developer of Nocatee, which basically Nocatee was a big project owned by the Davis family, which is the Winn-Dixie family who started Winn-Dixie. They sold it since, but they own a great deal of land around here, and they have been working together with PARC Group. And PARC Group has been working in Nocatee development as well as other developments, but Nocatee is probably one of the most successful master plan developments probably in the country. They did a phenomenal job. I mean, this has been planned out since 2000. We're coming to the end of it, and in the next couple of years, I mean, they're already doing the development planning and everything just north of Nocatee between eTown and Nocatee. And that is also all owned by the Davis family. And the PARC Group has announced that the first community ever range in that phase after eTown that's coming along. I think Toll Brothers is committed to it. I forget which other builders. But now they're announcing a surf park. Okay, a surf park, y'all. I mean, I don't know if you got the news. I mean, everybody was, hey, have you heard the news? They're talking about putting a surf park resort. This is a multi-million-dollar massive project, surf park and resort. Let me pull up the article here if I can really quick. And I'm going to tell you, we're going to discuss like the pros and cons of this project, and is it good or bad for our area? Hold on, I had it up here in a second. Pull it up. Yeah, so here it is. Let me share my screen. If you haven't watched this, and again, anybody else watching, please let me know where you're watching from. Say hello. Don't be bashful. Or learn how to log into Google so you can log in. I get text messages from people watching going, hey, I can't, I want to make a comment, but I can't log in. All right, so I'm going to share screen here. And I don't know, honestly, if something like this is going to help us or not. Okay, so here it is, folks. They announced it, multiple articles and access. This is Jacksonville Daily Record. Jacksonville Surf Park includes retail, restaurant, hotel, and apartments. 55-acre project in eTown off the 9B, Florida 9B, proposes surfing lagoons and surrounding amenities. Okay, now this place looks beautiful. Okay, here's eTown on one side. They have a Publix there, and if you see all that land I'm pointing to behind there, that's all land that goes all the way to the intercoastal. Half that land is owned by the Davis family. Okay, their ranch is there, but the other part of the land going south to Nocatee is all going to be developed. And I showed an article in the past of like 10, 11,000 homes and commercial, all permitted for that area. But right on the other side of the highway, the 9B exit, is this massive 55 acres that they're proposing this lagoon surf park with more apartments. Now, look how many apartments we already have here. That's my only conundrum with all this. Okay, how many apartments can this area really take, right? But plans for Jacksonville Surf Park announced October 1st shows more than lagoons. The project will create a wave of other development. Civil engineering site plan for global surf park developer Aventure's proposed Jacksonville Surf Park shows surf lagoons as well as almost 64,000 square feet of surf park ecosystem, 45,500 square feet of retail and restaurant space, 120 room hotel, and 300 more apartments. There's got to be at least 300 apartments on the other side. Total parking, 1,822 spaces. The site's 55 acres. It is massive, folks. And my concern is, okay, the eTown developer PARC Group announced this, and the global developer Aventure and experienced group of local partners announced a world-class destination coming soon in eTown. The park will provide waves, surf instruction, fitness training, physical recovery tailored to suit all levels from first-timers, junior surfers throughout the elite athletes, mental wellness, water safety, resilience, surf park therapy. Okay, so let me tell you my thoughts about this, all right? When I heard this, okay, I'm a Nocatee resident, and I'll tell you, one of the biggest allures of Nocatee, no doubt, is incredible allure of our water parks, okay? There are no water parks in St. John's that compare to Nocatee's water parks, okay? The water slides, the lazy rivers, and everything. A lot of people have like kind of like a replica of it in their communities. I think the best one probably is maybe Rivertown. But Nocatee has hands down the best water parks, no doubt, for a neighborhood. It's insane. When I first moved here 7 years ago from Florida, South Florida, I was like, this is insane. But that wasn't really the major attraction that attracted me to the area. It was the golf cart accessibility to all 49 neighborhoods within this master plan community, as well as all the commercial space, right? So eTown is the second next development that that the PARC Group developed with the Davis Group. Same kind of concept, but at the time and right now it only has about 1,700 homes. And they put a Publix there and a commercial area. There's Baptist Health, there's restaurants, there's everything there that you would see in Nocatee. And I had a hard time believing when they put a Publix shopping center in that neighborhood with only 1,600 homes developed. I knew in the back of my mind, there was no way in heck Publix was going to put that massive, beautiful, huge, giant grocery store in eTown with only 1,500 homes. I knew there was a vision that was way bigger than that, okay? Because Publix is way smarter than that. Publix is one of the strongest, largest grocery chains based out of Central Florida and this area as well. That's why there's a Publix across the street from a Publix. That's why Publix owns Nocatee. There's going to be 3 Publixes in Nocatee. It used to be Greenwise, but now it's turning into another Publix. I don't want to get into that. I'm really upset about that, but I don't want to get into that. But I'll tell you what, Publix came into eTown because they knew that down the road, this kind of crazy stuff was coming around the corner. And my thought is initially, okay, the PARC Group they really hit it out of the park with Nocatee. I mean, Nocatee is in a tremendously amazing community to live in. And more people are finding out about it because of channels like this, right? And nobody ever heard of Ponte Vedra, never even thought about going to Northeast Florida. And Nocatee is the buzz, and a lot of other master plan communities are trying to replicate that same model, right? Well, The PARC Group and the Davis family have been so super successful with Nocatee, and they did big water parks and golf carts and schools and a whole community and commercial space. You know what? These type of folks are going, let's think bigger. And folks, this is much bigger if you ask me. And I'm just wondering to myself, is it too big? Is it getting too crazy? And you want to know why I think that? Because I did some research, and the technology for wave parks have not been around a long time. Okay, I mean, we're talking like 2016. Now, I went to school, University of Texas. I went to Austin, and I'll tell you what. When I got news that there was going to be a surf park in Austin, it kind of made sense because look, Austin is in Texas, right? It's completely inland. I don't even know how long of a drive it is to the beach. I would say 3 hours, okay, to get to the beach there on the coast. Jacksonville, this area, we're talking maybe 5-6 miles from the beach. I don't understand the whole point of putting a wave park in a area where we're actually near the coast and there's beaches and surf there. So I used to surf, but I haven't surfed here. I grew up in South Florida and I surfed a lot. If anybody's a surfer or surfs here or whatever, go ahead and add in the comment. I mean, I don't even know how great the surfing is here, but I know Jacksonville does have a surf scene. But I mean, what is your thought about this? I mean, as a surfer, does this excite you? But the reality is the technology is not as great. It hasn't been around long enough. And so my concern is this, okay? Now this was this park opened up in Austin in 2016. Opened for only a month, and inland surf park closes for repairs, okay? Neighbors of new surf park outside of Austin said the park is making waves next to the door, spilling water into the neighborhood. Park said they were closing for a week after finding damage under the lagoon. They said they drain the lagoon and make repairs. So this is an older article, but I'll tell you what, that is not uncommon. As I did my research, I found out that a lot of surf parks around the world, and like I said, there's only 19 or 20 of them around the world. And here we are in little Northeast Florida, Jacksonville, making a wave in Florida, if you will, for a massive surf park, a multi-million-dollar project. But I came to find out when I did a little research earlier that these wave parks, the technology is just coming around now, okay? And that a lot of these wave parks, the problem is that they were very expensive to maintain. So here we have one in Switzerland, type of waves, Wave Garden Cove. By the way, Wave Garden Cove are the people that are actually part of this project that's being announced here in Jacksonville in eTown. So it's Cove Technology. I was looking at the prices here. The hourly cost is $117 to $160 an hour. Okay. So again, how many people are going to spend $120 an hour to go to a wave park? Adventure Park, Snowdonia, Northern Wales. I actually read up that this place had also shut down. So what happens is these massive parks open up, and the technology is so expensive to maintain that they break down. There's issues. There's engineering problems. They cost a lot of, not to mention the amount of gallons of water that is required to maintain one of these parks. They really have to be super successful, and you have to have a massive amount of people coming through there. So what's going to support a park like this, where, okay, this park's saying they are $65 US per hour on weekdays and weekends. Let's see, the Wave in Bristol, UK. Let's see, Wave Garden Cove produces everything from gently high rollers to high slabs. $73 peak season, $80. I'll spend $70-$80. I don't know about you guys, but I'd spend $70-$80 to go out there and try it out. Accommodations, I think the hotels and all the additional features is what I think is going to support this. So that's really the important thing, like, right? So I said in eTown and just north of Nocatee, we're going to see all this major development. We're talking homes, 10,000 homes re-permitting, because that was all agricultural land just south of eTown and north of Nocatee. So we were talking about 10,000 residents. We're talking about hotels. We're adding another 300 apartments. The question is, can our infrastructure handle all that? Can it handle that? And what does it cost to park? Do this one here. This is in Spain. Okay, cost for this anywhere between $52 and $880, depending how many surfers rent out the pool per hour. Valley of the Waves, Sun City, South Africa. There's only 19 of these in the world, people, and they're proposing one here in Jacksonville, right down the road. Here in near eTown. It's crazy to me, absolutely insane. This one right here, that can't be right. I don't know. Africa, they're talking about $4 to $8. I don't know what that means. That doesn't make sense. Let's see. Okay, what it costs to surf a Wadi Adventure. This is the Emirates, Dubai, I imagine. $18 park entry, $50 for 1 hour surf session. Okay, so that might make sense. That business model might make sense because they're making you pay an entry to go into the area. There's probably going to be, I imagine, maybe a pool or other stuff to do besides just surfing. But VIP sessions, $400. Beginner waves, $275. This is high dollar stuff, folks. This isn't cheap. Okay. Melbourne, Australia. Okay. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I'm saying we're right near the beach. Why do we need a wave park? Melbourne, Australia is known for their surfing. Wave Garden Cove. Okay. At least we have the right people behind the technology coming here to Jacksonville. They have experience in multiple parks. Sessions, cruiser turns, $80, intermediate, $90, advanced turns, $99, experts, $150, multi-packs. So look at that. I mean, you can get a whole seasonal pass to the surf park for $3,000. So this is going to really attract a whole different a clientele, a different kind of resident to this next phase, not to eTown. Surf Lakes, Yeppoon, Australia. There's quite a few of them in Australia. All these places internationally. Malaysia, surf park in Malaysia. And that's anywhere from $52 to $880. So basically, South Korea has a wave park. So basically, we're going to have a surf park in Jacksonville. All these amazing international places, and we're going to have it in Jacksonville. So here's my concern, right? Because here we are near the beach, and there's a massive resort, Crystal Lagoon, 14 acres, right here near Nocatee in a community called Beach Walk. Okay, and I'm going to use a little bit of an opinion on here. Okay. I don't sell a lot of real estate in Beach Walk, and I can't say why, all right, because I don't want to be biased, but this development has been going on well before COVID, and it was exciting when they announced it, but my overall gut feeling about Beach Walk is that they underestimated the cost to maintain this 16 acres, this 15-acre lagoon here in St. Johns County. And they only built maybe about 1,500 homes. And the CDD and HOA fees kept rising and rising until they were over $4,000 a year. And all it is really is it's a pool, a big giant lagoon pool with sand on the shore. And it's kind of weird because you're only 4 or 5 miles from the beach. But in your neighborhood, there's this giant lagoon pool. And it's kind of funny because these renderings, they got people on kayaks and everything. I don't know. Do people really ride kayaks around that pool in there? I don't know if they do or not. But they were selling the real estate on the premise at the beginning of this project that you were buying waterfront property. And the cost of it has gotten so high that they've had to pivot. And when I mean pivot, I mean they went from this community to a lot of commercial development. So right out in front of Beach Walk, you'll notice all the massive commercial development, which I think is great because St. John's needs more commercial development. We need more restaurants. We need more businesses to support all the influx. But it was announced back in August 23, 2022 that a margarita resort was being built on that Beach Walk lagoon. And that includes a 130 room margarita hotel. Now, there is a ton of commercial now at Beach Walk, and I think they pivoted because the developer was not selling through these 1,500 homes very quickly. And basically, what the builders had to do, the builders that did go in there, the developers, and I wouldn't say they're the most high tier builders. They're kind of lower tier builders. They were basically having to say, hey, if you buy a home from us, we'll pay the CDD portion of the fee for you so that you only have to worry about HOA fees, because the CDD fees were so high that folks were saying, look, I'm not going to spend over $4,000 a year to live in here to have a big giant lagoon if I can go to the beach or just go to my pool. So I don't think it was a huge success. So they basically pivoted and they ended up building massive amount of apartments out front there. That's why we had to widen 210. I think they underestimated the cost it's going to maintain this lagoon. And I don't think it was a home run as we all anticipated it. And I really question the future of that. And my fear is, and I may be wrong, this is just pure speculation. Don't take my word for it, and I'll make sure I put a liability waiver in the bottom of this. But my thought is that if I was a resident of that community, I would have super concerns in the future in the maintenance of this area. And maybe I would welcome a Margaritaville resort, because if it's going to be on that lagoon, hopefully they'll help maintain that lagoon. Because when the developer pulls out of there, who's going to maintain it? And what is it going to take to maintain this property? I haven't been on it in there for a couple of years, to be honest with you. I haven't even stepped foot. I stepped foot on it once with the sand and the pool option, and there was these big giant robotic like vacuums going around the acreage pool because it has to keep it clean, the water. I don't even know what kind of chemicals take to maintain this man-made lagoon. But I just think that the location in this real estate was so valuable that I don't think this lagoon or whatever it cost to develop it was worth the amount of money. And my fear is that it's not being utilized enough to maintain it in the future. And my fear is, as a resident, and since there's only 1,500 residents or less, my fear is if you live there, maybe the builder that you bought or the home you bought in there, they gave you an incentive to pay off the CDD. But what's going to happen, in the long term to maintain this massive lagoon, right? And so maybe the differences with this surf park that they're talking about putting in eTown, the difference is here is that, well, they already have plans of putting a massive hotel. They already have plans for plenty multifamily apartments. They're going to have tons of commercial businesses there. They're going to be paying rent to support all this, because they're going to need to do that to support the engineering and the technology and the maintenance to keep this wave pool running. And that is the secret. In Beach Walk, the lagoon that they built, that lagoon, the Margaritaville is not even there yet. It's almost like maybe they should have created the commercial development space and thought about, hey, will this support a lagoon or a surf camp like this? So it's really interesting to me, these projects and the success. And the question is to me, and if anybody from the PARC Group's watching, or anybody from the Davis, the developers, whatever, listen, I admire these guys tremendously. They have created a model in Nocatee that's bar none one of the most incredible, incredible technology, incredible master plan community that really works with the golf cart road system, all connected to the schools, to the commercial. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's resort style living, and it's incredible. But this to me is like absolutely next level. And I always wonder myself, I'm like, they were super successful for the last 20 years and all these other developments. This is taking the cake to a whole nother level. And I believe there's a lot of research and there's super smart people, but could this take them down? And what could happen? Can our infrastructure handle this? Where's all the money for this going to come from? And are people going to buy into it? Do we have the community, the culture, the residents that are going to pay that kind of money to go to a surf park? Or are they going to go to the beach or go to the many beautiful natural hiking destinations here in Jacksonville? We have so many parks, so many beaches, so many different places to go. Are they going to go do that, or are they going to cough up the money to spend the day at this resort surf park? That's the question I ask. And that is a concern. And I think it's a gamble. It's a huge gamble. It's a massive gamble. And yeah, I'm not sure what to think of it, but I would love for any of you guys, if you're watching the recording of this as well, if you're not watching this live in the recording, please make sure you put in your comments your thought of this. If you think you would go or not, if you're a surfer, what your thoughts are on this. Because I think this is crazy. I really do. And I'm a water sports person. I mean, I work too much now. I have kids and a family. I work massive hours. I'm a slightly borderline workaholic. And ironically, I was at an inspection today, and I was chatting with the inspector who is an avid fisherman, and actually takes his boat down to Palm Beach and then motorboats it all the way to the Bahamas on a calm day, goes fishing, enjoys the Abacoas, some of the most beautiful things and opportunities you can do living in Florida. And I didn't ask him about this, but I was also talking to him because he was an avid diver and so was I. And I said, how's the diving off the coast of Jacksonville? Because for me, when you live in South Florida, you can go deep sea fishing like 3 miles offshore, catch a bunch of dolphin, massive deep sea fishing, come home with some mahi all day long, put it in the freezer a lot. Here, you have to go 30 miles out to go deep sea fishing. But he told me today that, the diving is actually really fantastic here off of Jacksonville beaches. He said there's some great reefs. He says phenomenal fish life, all those kind of things. And I never thought anything of that. I thought the water was a little more murkier up here. Our waters and our beaches are not as blue as in South Florida. It gets cooler in the wintertime, but he's like, no, we have phenomenal diving here in Jacksonville. So it actually motivated me to go, oh, maybe I need to go get recertified and get out there in the water. And then the other irony is that I have a buyer client who's become really good friends with. I've become friends with all my buyers. I love my buyers. And he said, hey man, why don't you come out with me for a couple hours tomorrow, cut out of work a little early, and let's go out on the wave runners. We'll go out of Palm Valley outdoors where he keeps his Sea-Doos there. And we're going to go down the intercoastal St. Augustine and enjoy a little water time. And I said, you know what? I don't do this very often, so I'll go ahead and take you up on that offer if it's just for an hour or two. So we have water sports here, and it just cracks me up because these kind of projects that you're looking at, to me, like Dubai, yeah, I get it. It's in the middle of the desert. Austin, Texas, yeah, I get it. It's inland. But in Florida, near the beach, I don't know. I don't know if I buy it 100%. So I can't help but think that the developers and the Davis family and everyone involved are like thinking, we've done Nocatee, we're going to make this one even bigger. And I think there may be the reason that you have to make up for it is that Nocatee is in St. Johns County, right? In real estate, the rule is schools sell real estate. Naturally, families want to move where the best schools are. And it's no doubt that in Florida, we're not known for education in general. Florida and historically has always been a retirement state. And majority of people that vote were usually people retirees. and the retirees were not voting for bills to fund schools for Florida. And schools in Florida we were never known for education schools. And so now with the migration and everything, Florida is starting to beef up their school systems, but more so on the private sector, private schools. But St. Johns County in Northeast Florida are known for some of the better rated public school systems in Florida. And that's why people come to this area. Okay, a better lifestyle, more affordable, better weather, less taxes, and then better schools for our children. Well, this eTown project, this north of Nocatee and this Ever Range, the next section that the developer is moving to after Nocatee, that development is in Duval County. And I'm not saying that the schools are bad, but they're not St. John's rating schools. Okay. So as a parent, I have a 7 and 10-year-old. I'm not going, hey, let's move to Duval County unless I know they're going to a very specific school or a private school or a charter school. Like a lot of people that I've been visiting Seven Pines, a lot of people are talking about Providence in Jax. So great school. Naturally, Bowles, one of the most prestigious schools in the country and boarding school. But this is in Duval County. And so it does not have the schools that St. Johns County has. The question is in my mind, as a developer, how could they affect it? Instead of spending all the money in something like this, why not invest in schools? Some of the best money-making universities in the country and private schools is money-making. I hate to say it. I don't want to make it sound like education's a profit center, but let's be honest here, folks. Education has now become a major profit center. Why not put your energy, time, and money into, making up for that education issues that we have in Duval? Because Duval's a phenomenal area. Why can't we somehow figure out how to fund education? I mean, it seems kind of weird that St. Johns County is able to develop so many schools like they are as fast paced. I mean, you should see our K-8 schools that are being developed. The latest one in Rivertown, it's absolutely massive and incredible. And I walk around the schools here in Nocatee that my kids go to, and I walk around. I tell my wife, I'm like, my gosh, I can't. This is like nicer than what my university was. Well, not university. The first school I went to, I was like, this is nicer than my college classrooms and the facilities. And the reason is because if I'm part of our PTO, we raise a lot of money. Parents really care about our students here and are very generous to our schools here to raise a lot of capital to make up for funding in our public schools that the state funding does not cover, or the county. But I wonder, I'm like, how do we get schools built so quick in St. Johns County? And people go, well, St. Johns County is getting very expensive. And I'm like, well, it eventually does have to be, because we have to pay for these schools. We have to pay for the infrastructure, the roads and whatnot. And I always think to myself, when you look at something like this surf park or whatever, and developers and everything, like, how can we contribute more to schooling? And their answer to that would be, and if they're watching, I know they'll say, hey, Greg, you should know better. PARC Group donated the land to build the schools to the county. And I was like, yeah, they did, but I'm sure there was tax benefits to that, but it was very clever as well to think of that as well. So yeah, I don't have any other comments from here tonight. I'm going to wrap it up. If you're watching this and you have any commentary about you think if this surf park will work or not, if you think you would actually go to it and spend $100 a day to go hang out at the surf park in eTown, go ahead and you put it in the comments. World surf parks all over the world, and now we're getting them right here in Northeast Florida potentially. So massive development going on, and this is the biggest surprise of all. Anyway, folks, my name is Greg DiTullio. This is your last opportunity. If you have any other questions, make sure you put it in the comment. I'd be glad to answer it. Otherwise, if you're thinking about moving to the area, I'd love to be your resource of choice. It costs you absolutely nothing to have representation when purchasing and building a new home. And of course, my services come with a lot of additional features, including having that team member to help you with design center visits. Also, we're offering temporarily now, we're taking care of your inspections because we think it's super important these days to make sure you have your home. I got one question here. Yes, let me see here. Next to the Meadowlands, they have a thing called American Dream. You can surf or ski 365 a year. Huh. Not really familiar with that, Rob. That sounds very interesting. I like the option that you can surf or ski. Not going to happen in Florida as far as the ski thing. Any coastal surge areas in Nocatee? So there's two things I always get about Nocatee in particular, questions I get. For one of them is do alligators attack you in our, do we have alligators and do they attack you? Yes, we have alligators, and no, we have had no alligator attacks in Nocatee. And number two, have we had any flooding in Nocatee in 20 years? And no, we have not had any major flooding. Now, there's only one waterfront community that's technically on the water, and that's on the river landing in the northeast section. They have intercoastal homes. And I know that a lot of folks that were considering building a home in the intercoastal, I mean, that's a dream to live on the water, right? One of the big things is that you had to build a really long dock because during low tide, you wouldn't be able to get your boat in and out of your house on your dock in your backyard. So you'd have to have a really long dock, and I don't know if you're allowed to, or maybe have to dredge to be able to keep your boat. You're going to spend all that money. You're going to spend $4 or $5 million to build a house in your coastal. You want to be able to have a decent sized boat back there. Some of the people that were, talking about it, saying, hey, you're not going to find an insurance company that's going to insure your 120, 130 foot dock. But the other thing is because of the habitat or whatever, I don't see any seawalls being built in River Landing either. So my big concern is the next storm surge. Is that going to affect those homes? And a lot of those homes, including the ones on the other side of the intercoastal, Roscoe, which is lower than sea level, we're higher in sea level in the River Landing section. So we're a little better off than they are in Roscoe. But you'll see a lot of Roscoe homes on the other side of the intercoastal. They're built up. I've seen even houses with generators on a block that's 3-4 feet off the ground, and that's specifically there to avoid floods. So I have not seen any flooding in Nocatee, but if it were to happen, it's definitely going to be in River Landing. And again, the question goes, hey, if you can afford a $4 or $5 million house in River Landing, maybe even more actually, the size of the homes they're building there, then you can afford to replace a dock or deal with any flooding or the insurance it's going to cost to maintain those homes. So that's one of my concerns. But as far as the rest of Nocatee, you always hear people talking about lakefront properties or water lakes or whatever. Those aren't lakes; they're retention ponds, and they're required by the county. And those retention ponds are what limit our flooding in Nocatee. We have so many retention ponds in some areas more than others, and that really, it's a place for the water to go so that we can avoid flooding. But a lot of the land in Nocatee is swamp land, and a lot of the land of the neighborhoods are built on they brought in dirt and raised the land, and that's why we get that X flood zone, which means you're not even required to have flood insurance. But although I highly recommend it for the $400 or $500 in case something does happen. No one thought a hurricane was going to affect Asheville and the mountains, for crying out loud. So I always say to people, get flood insurance. Pay the $400 or $500 extra a year. If it's going to cost you $2,400 a year instead of $1,800, get the flood insurance. So yeah, I think that's one of the other big things about Nocatee is that we're still kind of close to the beach. We have places on the intercoastal. I would also say there's parts of Nocatee Del Webb in the back, the largest lots that they have, they're premium lots. They have a kayak launch back there, but that's not really on the water. Those are more like, it's near the intercoastal, but those kayak launches are actually on I don't even know what the word is. They're not even real waterways, because when the water level goes down, they really dry up. But I wouldn't even be concerned there. But that's the other community that's closest to the water as well. So yeah, I think that's what's so special about Nocatee particularly, is that we are near the water. And you know, for the last 20 years, knock on wood, we've had no major flooding issues, and we haven't had any alligator attacks, knock on wood. So yeah, thanks for the question. Appreciate it, for joining us tonight, Rob. Thank you. Yes, you're welcome. Thank you for joining us. All right, I don't have any other questions tonight, but I do appreciate those of you that are logged on and watching. Again, my name is Greg DeTulio. I try to put out a video every Tuesday and come on here live Thursdays. My goal is to try to create community. If you are a local business, I'd love to have you on the show and interview you as well. We've done pickleball. Last week we did soccer, Good Lads Soccer, my friend Gavin. And that's what I love about this community, is that we really do support one another's businesses. And if you are entrepreneurial at all, this is a phenomenal area, because if you do a great job, whatever kind of business or field of work that you're in, if you're not corporate or not medical, the opportunities are phenomenal for good standing citizens and entrepreneurs, because we want to support our neighbors. We want to have that mom and pop kind of service, if you will, in the community. So, and my goal is through these Thursday nights is to try to get those people out there and include them. I'm one man, so there's only so much I can do, but we're adding a team on here, trying to grow it and build this up to something good. So thanks for watching. Tune in next week. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you do so, and I'll see you then. Cheers.